Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of World War II. At this point, I'm hoping everyone has had an opportunity to look around and to become more comfortable with the course. I understand some of you are old pros, whereas others are first timers for this learning system for Brightspace. So hopefully, everyone is starting to get adjusted to it. We've only been with it since January, so some of you who may have taken off a semester or two might be picking it back up. If you have any questions about Brightspace, please let me know or let the help desk know, and we'll be happy to help you out. Remember, if you're lost or you need assistance, there's no reason not to ask for assistance. No question is too big or too small. If I don't know the answer, we can try to point you to an office or to a administrator who may know. So just keep that in mind. Last week, we discussed the underlying and immediate causes of the Second World War. We started with looking at the legacy of World War I, the leftover grievances from post-war Europe that were not fixed by any of the treaties that ended the war, most famously the Treaty of Versailles. You also had the Treaty of Saint Germain, which ended the war with Austria. These treaties, of course, most famously Treaty of Versailles, were not negotiated treaties. These were dictated treaties, and many of the elements of these treaties led to destabilization for the new republics, whether they be the German Republic, the Weimar Republic, or the new Austrian Republic. These countries were destined to failure from the beginning because of some of the policies of the Treaty of Versailles and the Treaty of Saint Germain and the Treaty of Trianon. They didn't really have a chance. The lesson also looked at the process in which the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party, took power in Germany in the early 1930s under their charismatic leader Adolf Hitler. We looked at how they took power democratically, even though it's false to say that they were elected. Hitler was not elected. He was appointed to the chancellorship by the president of the Weimar Republic, the former Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg. But still, it was a democratic means of taking power. This was a democratic coup that Hitler will consolidate all power. Now, Hitler was, as we talked about, was very successful in his initial years as the leader, as the Chancellor of Germany, and later as the Führer and Chancellor. If you look at some of the things he did a massive military buildup. He reoccupied the Rhineland. He created the People's Car Initiative, which, by the way, we now refer to as the Volkswagen. He began the construction of the Autobahn, which was a national highway system, eventually would become a European highway system, was actually the inspiration for what we now call the national highway system here in the United States. He took unemployment, which had been 6 million in the early 1930s, and by the time the war started, he had dropped it to about 1 million. Hitler was very successful in rebuilding German pride and the German economy after the disasters of the 1920s. So it's no surprise that Hitler will be very successful in convincing his people that they can win another world war. One thing we also looked at was the European response to Hitler, mainly how the United Kingdom and France dealt with Nazi Germany in the late 1930s. We looked at the appeasement policy that mainly Great Britain used. And while it's easy to attack Neville Chamberlain for this, we must remember that, unfortunately, World War I was so close and so ingrained in their minds, it's hard not for them to try to work for every peaceful resolution they could get. because in their minds, the outcome of failure, the outcome of not making the Germans happy was war. And they remembered what happened during World War I, and they were not looking forward to the possibility of a second war. A war, by the way, which will make World War I look small. At that time, that was inconceivable. No one thought in a million years that World War I could ever be surpassed, yet it absolutely was. This week, during week 2, we're going to look at the opening stages of the war. This unit's going to focus mainly on the years 1939 and 1940. If you look at the second half of 1939, this is when the European War begins. The thing about this is, other than the attack and occupation of Poland, not much happens in 1939. We essentially have the beginning of a Cold War between the Allies, Britain and France, and Germany. If you look at the Soviet Union has signed a non-aggression pact with the Nazi regime. They go in and take Finland and parts of Poland that they had wanted. Otherwise, they're going to leave the Germans to do what they wish. But beginning in the spring and summer of 1940, you begin to see some movement by Hitler against the Allies, mainly France. We see Hitler reuse the Schlieffen Plan, which was not used successfully in World War I. We see him use it this time with a twist, and he is actually able to conquer France very easily, very quickly. As a matter of fact, you can see videos and pictures of Hitler at the Eiffel Tower and walking down the streets of Paris. This was a major blow to the Allied war effort, the fact that Hitler was able to take the capital, something for which the former Kaiser had always dreamed of doing in 1914 to 1918. Hitler, a mere lance corporal, was able to do in just a few weeks. This left the British no choice but to evacuate their reinforcements from Dunkirk, and it left the British Empire, the British Home Isles, as really the only holdout against Nazi aggression. They were the only ones left by early 1941. As I said, with the United States, we're not going to be involved in this here in the early stages. Why? Well, we're still reeling from the Great Depression, and we're still firmly following the isolationist policies that we put down after World War I. This week, you will complete the assignments and readings in Learning Module 2, The Failure to Pacifism. This unit will be due on Sunday, September 16th at 11:59. At the end of this unit, there are two things we want you to be able to do. First, we want you to analyze the political, technological, and military factors that led to the early Axis successes, and we want you to assess the constraints on the Allied decision makers that led to their level of preparedness on the eve of the war. There's a couple of reading assignments this week. I want you to read A War to be Won. I want you to read German Designs, 1939 and 1940, and Germany Triumphant, 1940. Second, in the Routledge Atlas of the Second World War by Martin Gilbert, I want you to look at From German Invasion of Poland to the Fall of France, Germany 1919 to 1939. That should be pages 2 through 16. For the assignments this week, there are two assignments. First, a discussion board titled Strange Defeat or Strange Victory. You will read the prompt and follow the directions to answer the question below. What you will look at in the prompt is how Germany was so successful early in the war, up through the fall of France in 1940. Was it because Germany had a better technology? Did they have better operations and tactics? Did they have better strategy? Did they have better leadership? Or was there something else that made the Germans successful enough to beat France so quickly? That is for your initial post. Please remember, when you use outside information as evidence, you must cite your information in the text using Chicago Manual Style /Parabian footnotes. at the bottom of the post. Now, you will respond to 2 of your classmates. When you do that, I want you to pick 2 people who argued a different reason than you. Maybe you did technology and they did leadership. I want you to then critique their views. Look at their opinion, look at the evidence they use to make that opinion, and I want you to take it and I want you to critique them. This should be a positive critique, a constructive criticism. This is designed for you to have a back and forth debate. Okay? Maybe they sway you. Maybe they convince you of their rationale. Tell us that. Tell them that. If you feel that maybe they're wrong, tell them that and why. But you must be able to produce some kind of facts, some kind of evidence to support why they're correct or why they're wrong. The second assignment is the 2-2 Final Project Milestone 1. This is where you're going to give me your paper topic submission. You will submit your topic for your paper. This should just be in 1 page or less. You should identify and define the paper topic. So, for example, you're going to do strategies of World War II. You will summarize how you will research using primary and secondary sources. If you have those sources, you should already list them. And then you should also tell me how you plan to narrow your topic down to create a thesis-driven paper. If you have any questions on how to do any of those things throughout the week, please let me know. Please reach out to me either by phone or email, and I will happily make some time for us to go over it together. Now, if you have any questions about anything in the learning material folder, the assignment guidelines, rubrics, if you just need to talk about something, there's just something you need to address, please feel free to get a hold of me. I should be around most of the week. Now, I will say that it does look like, and you should have gotten an email from SNHU this afternoon, there is a hurricane coming on the East Coast. It's supposed to hit approximately Thursday night, Friday morning. We don't know specifically where it's going to go. Some say it's going to hit South Carolina. Others say it's going to hit Wilmington, North Carolina. And I've seen some estimates saying it could hit Virginia Beach to the Delmarva Peninsula. Unfortunately, we are located on the Delmarva Peninsula, so there is a chance that there could be some weather-related issues later in the week. So if you email or call later in the week and you're unable to get a hold of me, please keep that in mind. Please, if you're in one of those areas, SNHU did want me to remind you that your safety is paramount, that we care more about your safety than we do your coursework in a case like this. So please make sure that you are doing what is necessary in order to be safe. If you are having to evacuate or you're having to hunker down and you have no internet or anything, somehow let us know if you're in the path of the storm before you lose your technology, so that we can make sure that we mark you down as being in the disaster area. And you can do that. Just email me or call me, or let your advisor know. Please, you can also let your advisor know, and they will let your instructors know. So if you're anywhere between coastal South Carolina and coastal New Jersey, just make sure you let your advisor know and ask them to send that out to all of your instructors. All right, guys. Well, you guys have a good week, and we will see you sometime at the end of the week. Bye.